Brent, very good to see you. We are talking through RMD strategies to reduce your tax burden in retirement. Let's just start at the tippy top, though. What are required minimum distributions and how are they calculated?
Yes, so the government wants their money. They allow you to store away all these funds over our careers, 401ks, 403bs, IRAs. Essentially, that is deferring the taxation. They then say that at a certain age, you have to start drawing from those accounts, and it is simply the tax bill is due. So it's a little bit less than 4%. There's tables that are involved. But long story short, they started this at age 70 and a half. They then changed it to 72, then 73, and then for some age 75. But all it has to do is they want to start receiving the taxation attached to those funds that have been deferred.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we get into the strategies, I want to mention you make sure your clients take those RMDs when they need to, because if they don't, there's a stiff penalty.
Correct. So you're looking at a 25% penalty if you don't take them out. There are some ways to reduce that if you remedy and fix it in the next year. That is going to lower that penalty, but you don't want to have to do that. You just want to make sure to take your distribution. So that's something we're reminding clients every year when we meet with them. This is the amount. Let's talk about a strategy, and then we go from there.
Right. Okay. So now let's touch on those strategies. The first would be start taking those distributions before they are even required, right? So that would be when you're 59 and a half.
Correct. And a lot of times when I meet with clients, they've got a big bucket of pre-tax dollars, maybe a little bit of Roth, which is very common with the current generation retiring. I say, hey, these Roth dollars are not your own. That's going to build your legacy. These pre-tax dollars are what we need to get spent down. And so if you're retiring early, after 59 and a half, you can start pulling from those funds. So there's some strategies involved, but essentially you're starting to burn through some of those because, hey, the government's going to make you take them anyway eventually. So you want to hold on to some of your other buckets of money because it makes more sense to drain the RMD eligible stuff first.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. The second strategy is something that you and I have talked about many times, Roth conversions.
Yes, what this is doing is turning pre-tax dollars into Roth dollars, and there does have some pain with it. So you have to pay taxes when you do that conversion. But what are you doing? You are putting money that is going to be taxed in the future, paying it today and moving it to a bucket that the gains and more importantly, the principal and more importantly, the gains will not be taxed down the road. And so when people say, why does this make sense? This chart helps a ton because we are in a historically low tax period.
Right.
And so now is not a bad time to pay some of those taxes. Yeah, you feel the pain today, but if tax rates go up, man, you're going to look like a smart person.
Mm-hmm. And then the last strategy I love, it's kind of a win-win for everybody, a qualified charitable distribution. How does this work?
Yeah, so I tell folks, being charitably minded is going to give you a ton of flexibility in tax planning. So essentially, you can give from your IRA up to $108,000 per year after you hit the age of 70 and a half. So that gives you a ton of wiggle room to take some of those dollars that would have caused you taxation and give it to something you support. And so I tell a lot of clients, I know you've been tithing from, just your regular checking account. Well, think about this. You are not itemizing. You're not getting any benefit from that. Let's send the funds from your IRA and you're actually going to get that tax benefit. Mm-hmm. So hugely important. And we're doing a ton of them for our clients.
Right. The collection plate is not the most tax efficient way to do it. And then just to remind everybody watching, we do have separate videos on Roth conversions and QCDs. And I want to just come back to kind of why we're having this conversation. A lot of people assume they're going to be in a lower tax bracket when they retire, but these RMDs are income and it often pushes retirees into higher tax brackets.
Yeah, so I've run into plenty of clients who were drawn on Social Security, hadn't paid taxes in years, and then they get hit with RMDs, and then, oh, I owe taxes on that. Well, actually, you owe taxes on the Social Security as well because it dragged you into taxation. So the time to deal with RMDs is not at age 73. You want to start the conversation 50, 55, 60, so you can start to prepare for that. Because if you've got different buckets of funds, there are a lot of strategies involved because we want to pay Uncle Sam as little as humanly possible.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Especially for our good savers in those tax deferred buckets.
Got it.
Brent, if somebody does want to talk through these strategies with you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yep, they can call the office 614-430-8383 or go to young-wm.com. We're talking about this stuff every day and we'd love to help.
Great. Brent, thank you.
Thanks.